Hi, I'm Douglas Mason, President and CEO of Magnum Gold Corp, MGI and the TSX Venture Exchange. A 2015 drill program on the LH property intersected several high-grade gold intersections, including 11 meters of 20.66 grams per ton gold. Additional drill targets on the LH property have been identified by a 2018 drone airborne magnetic survey to further evaluate a pyrrhotite-enriched gold-bearing system. Please visit our website at magnumgoldcorp.com.
Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is investigative reporter Spencer Fernando. You can find his articles at SpencerFernando.com. Welcome back to the show, Spencer.
Good to be here.
Boy, have they ripped a lid off a can of worms in Ottawa with the SNC-Lavalin scandal boiling over day by day now. What's your take on it? Did they try to cover up something, and was it something worth covering up?
Well, it really looks like a cover-up. Just not long ago in the Justice Committee emergency meeting, the NDP and Conservatives brought forward a motion, or supported a motion that would have given Jody Wilson-Raybould the chance to speak to the committee, would have also called for Gerald Butts and Katie Telford, Trudeau's two closest advisors, to speak, and the Liberals voted against it because they have a majority in the committee. So they shut it down, and then they passed their list of witnesses, which doesn't include anyone who is actually seemingly involved in it, and includes two people who've already just repeated the PMO talking points. So it's pretty obvious they're covering something up, and considering all the criticism they're getting, if there wasn't anything to cover up, then it would be so much easier for them to just be open and transparent, which is what they said they would do. And just say, okay, fine, here's everything that happened, here are the people we want to talk to, they're free to go talk. So the fact that they're trying to cover up something, I think it really says a lot about the fact that they're quite afraid.
Now, what are the allegations that are being made?
The allegations are that they exercised, either Trudeau or members of the PMO, exercised improper influence to try to change the prosecution, to pressure the prosecution to give a deferred prosecution agreement to SNC-Lavalin instead of actually taking them to a court. And what that would mean is that instead of SNC-Lavalin potentially being found guilty and then being banned from federal contracts for 10 years, they would get to pay some fines and fire anybody who's involved in past scandals, which in some cases they've already done. So really basically a sweetheart deal for a big company to let them get away with crimes. That obviously that same kind of deal is not given to most Canadians. And so the thinking is that PMO exercised improper influence and may have told Jody Wilson-Raybould to make a certain decision on that, and then when she didn't, they fired her and replaced her with somebody else who has now opened the door saying that SNC-Lavalin may end up getting that deal after all. So that's the real concern.
Now, SNC-Lavalin has a history of bribery. They tried to smuggle Gaddafi's son into the United States. They were involved in a bribery scandal in Bangladesh that has resulted in the IMF banning them from getting worldwide work for the next 10 years. Why would this company get special treatment?
Well, I mean, they're a pretty large company in Quebec. The provincial government of Quebec has already called for the federal government to give them the deferred prosecution agreement. It's deeply tied. I mean, they got in trouble for giving $100,000 in legal donations. Almost all of those donations, 9 out of 10 of them, to the Liberal Party. They've been implicated in massive corruption scandals around the world. There's tons of links between that company and the Liberal Party, not just the current Liberal Party, but in the past, and Liberal-connected groups and elites. So it's deeply tied to the Quebec political class and the Liberal political class especially. And we've often seen, it seems when a company connected to the Liberals gets in trouble, they get all the help they need. And then when people struggle in the West, or even really companies in Ontario when they struggle, or anywhere else in the country, they don't get that same kind of help.
Is it true that they could face new charges?
Yeah, there's some sort of bridge problem. I think Jacques Cartier Bridge, $127 million bridge. Some federal official was already charged with bribery. I think about 2 years ago, charged with bribery, so about $2.7 million, something like that. And SNC-Lavalin, they face new charges for bribery as well, or being involved in a bribery scheme, potentially. So the RCP is looking into that and potentially bringing charges. And the charges will also be brought by the Quebec courts, which is interesting. So, it's not like it's just old scandals for this company. They're still facing new problems now.
Is it true the former CEO of SNC donated to the Trudeau Foundation?
Yeah, he's also listed as, I believe, a mentor of the Trudeau Foundation. Not the current CEO. This is the guy who was CEO a fair while ago. But again, it's just this. There's this kind of revolving door between these big companies and then politics, and then foundations that are connected to the companies and politics. And you can just see how the influence works, right? I mean, foundations exert influence through the public or through people with close connections to political parties. Political parties write laws. Those laws influence big companies. Big companies then send people into politics, and it's just a big revolving door.
We'll have more with Spencer Fernando right after this.
MGX Minerals is revolutionizing the new energy economy with patented lithium extraction technology, replacing traditional solar evaporation using low-cost, low-energy nanofiltration. The first system of this paradigm shift technology is currently being commissioned. MGX Minerals trades on the CSE, symbol XMG, the OTCQB, symbol MGXMF, and Frankfurt, symbol 1MG. For more information, visit our website, mgxminerals.com.
I'm Kelly Jennings, CEO of PowerBand Solutions. PowerBand is a cloud-based provider of auction, inventory, and finance solutions that make buying, selling, and financing vehicles more efficient. PowerBand Solutions trades on the TSX Venture Exchange symbol PBX and on the OTCQB symbol PWWPF and on Frankfurt symbol 1ZV. For more information, please visit us at powerbandsolutions.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Spencer Fernando. Spencer, with the resignation of Jody Wilson-Raybould from the federal cabinet, is this a big black eye for a prime minister who prides himself on both feminist rights and Aboriginal advancement?
Oh, big time, and I mean his treatment of her afterwards as well. I mean, he's thrown her under the bus right away, so he clearly, I mean, as I wrote just earlier today, his talk about feminism and reconciliation, that was just so he could get elected. Now that he's in power, he doesn't care. And I think what people are starting to see is that, that same kind of corrupt political class, that's really who Trudeau serves. And all the other talk was just that he could win power. And when given a choice between, Jody Wilson-Raybould and the political class, it seems pretty obvious what he picked. And also the anonymous people in the PMO, or likely directed by the PMO and the Liberal Party, who are going out and now saying negative things about her. Oh, she was difficult. She was a problem all along. That's only coming out now. And so, again, it's tough to think that he's not aware of that and potentially even directing that kind of, whisper campaign. So, again, people are just really seeing the gap between what he says he's about and what he actually does.
Is his office full of 20-somethings without a lot of political experience?
In many cases, that's what most PMOs are like. The conservative PMO is quite similar. There's some experienced people, but a lot of it is long hours. It's tough to get people who have big families or who have family obligations, and it's a sad thing, but it's probably easier to get kind of the wide-eyed young people in need of politics, especially the ones who might be super partisan. It's probably easier to get them to do things that are ethically dubious than it is someone who's been in it for a while and who may just have a better understanding of the law and not want to get in trouble. But, it seems a lot of PMOs are filled with a lot of really young people. But, it doesn't actually seem young people are the problem here. It's, especially seems like probably Gerald Butts, potentially Katie Telford, seem to be exercising a negative influence. But, of course, it all comes back to Trudeau. Trudeau's the one who put them in that position. He's the one who either listens to them or takes direction from them, and he's the prime minister, so it all rests on him.
How damaging do you think this is going to be for the federal election, which is not that far off in October?
I think it could be quite damaging because I think more than any other scandal, this really cuts to the core of what Trudeau wanted his brand to be. he created kind of a fake image of, being this kind of, this modern feminist guy, totally different than other politicians, everything's new. And now he just looks like a politician embroiled in a scandal like many others, and he's willing to throw an Indigenous woman under the bus to save him and his elitist friends. So, I mean, I think people are going to look at this and say, well, this guy was lying the whole time when he talked about his new image and doing politics differently, Jody Wilson-Raybould actually referenced that. She said that when she got involved, she was hoping she could be part of doing politics differently. So kind of a subtle jab at Trudeau's rhetoric.
Some Vancouver anchor women who are on television have tweeted they're upset on how Trudeau just keeps referring to her as Jody, not as the former Solicitor General or Justice Minister, or as Miss or Ms. Wilson-Raybould, but just Jody, Jody, Jody. They think it's pretty demeaning.
Yeah, especially when it was when he was today, because he referred to everyone else there, the men, by their full names or their full titles, and then when he talked about Jody Wilson-Raybould, he just said Jody, and it wasn't even being friendly, because he didn't have the excuse. It was just being friendly about it, because he was also throwing her under the bus at the same time. So definitely seemed like an attempt to kind of demean her, and I think that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to diminish her importance so that he can save himself.
Could you see her jumping ship and changing to a different party?
Potentially. I think if anything, it might be more likely that she runs as an independent. I think she'd actually probably have a good chance of getting in as an independent. But I think also there's been a few tweets. Jane Philpott, who's pretty respected by a fair amount of people in the government, at least, she released a tweet with a photo of her and Jody Wilson-Raybould praising her. People noted that Trudeau didn't say anything nice about Jody Wilson-Raybould yesterday. So to have people currently serving in the government who are, they're not criticizing Trudeau publicly, but it's kind of an implicit criticism when they're saying really nice things about Jody Wilson-Raybould while he tries to demonize her. I think some people in the Liberal Party are perhaps sending a message that they're not going to go along with his demonization efforts, and it's going to be very interesting if the party starts to come apart on this, because he really made his brand about. He was this woke feminist guy. He was totally different. He was going to be better than everybody. And I think a lot of people believed him. There's probably a lot of people who ran for the party because they believed he was being truthful about that. And now that it's really revealed as a big lie and a big just fake image, a lot of people are probably reassessing things.
Is the Trudeau cabinet kind of shy on talent? I mean, she seemed to me to be one of the bright lights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like it. I mean, I've criticized her in the past. I think her comments on the Colton Bushy, that whole issue, I wasn't a big fan of, because it seemed like she was saying there was an incorrect verdict, which is not really anything a justice minister should be saying. But the one thing you can say about her is she's very intelligent, and she speaks her mind, and she, whatever happens, she's not willing to just play the political game and be politically correct. So I think she definitely deserves some credit for that. And that's what Trudeau said he wanted, right? He said he wanted people with different opinions in debate and discussion. And now we'll see what people like Jane Philpott does. I mean, if she's releasing a tweet praising Jody Wilson-Raybould while Trudeau's demonizing her, well, there's some sort of tension going on. So we'll see what happens. Maybe there'll be a few other people. I mean, there's just a fellow, I think it was Wayne Long. Maybe somebody else could get the name wrong, but he said he's not going to run. He's in Eastern Canada, so that's the thing to look at over the next month or so. You start seeing more MPs saying, "Oh, I'm not going to run next time." They might not go out and say, "Oh, Trudeau's terrible," or "Oh, he's a liar," but they'll just say, "Oh, I'm done with politics." That's what happened with the Conservatives towards the end. A lot of cabinet ministers, I think, saw the writing on the wall and said, "No, I don't think I'm going to run again." And we'll see if some Liberals start doing that.
What do you think Andrew Scheer, as Conservative leader, can do to take advantage of this situation? Do you think that he would have handled it differently if he was Prime Minister?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to know it's tough to tell how someone will be as Prime Minister by how they are in opposition, because they are such different jobs. It's kind of easy to stand and just say everything the other person is doing sucks. It's another thing to actually do the job. So there's really no way to know what they'll do. But I think he's handling it pretty well. I mean, he's never going to be lighting up the media with charisma, but he's demanding, records be saved. He's looking kind of fairly competent. And in this case, really, I mean, Trudeau's just, he keeps changing his mind, his excuses. Just kind of letting Trudeau have the stage right now and kind of dig himself into a deeper hole is probably the best thing to do.
We'll have more with Spencer Fernando right after this.
Hi, I'm Douglas Mason, President and CEO of Rainy Mountain Royalty Corp., RMO, on the TSX Venture Exchange. Rainy Mountain Royalty Corp. is a Canadian-based mineral exploration project generator. The company currently holds multiple property interests in Ontario with joint venture partners and is seeking further joint venture partners for other drill-ready properties in our portfolio. For more information, please visit our website at rmroyalty.com or call me at 604-922-2030.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Spencer Fernando. Spencer, will Trudeau's proposed federal carbon tax be a job killer?
Yeah, the Canadian Federation of Independent Business had just done a survey of businesses in the provinces where it's going to be imposed, and almost all the businesses said that they can't pass on the full cost to consumers, which means that they either have to cut wages or they have to cut jobs, or possibly a combination of all three. They'll have to increase prices and cut wages and fire some people. So again, this is what a lot of people predicted, and the whole idea of the rebate only accounts for some of the cost, doesn't account for lost jobs, doesn't account for higher prices of goods, doesn't account for a slowing economy and all those problems and lower wages. So that's why people have been saying, the government can't just say, oh, here's a rebate. It's all revenue neutral. It's still going to take more money out of people's pocket than it gives back.
And of course, that rebate is only for the provinces who don't have a carbon tax. In British Columbia, where we've had over a decade of carbon tax, we don't get a break.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So it's quite a strange incentive system for provinces. And the other thing that I think really makes it obviously a total fraud is the fact that they're giving huge exemptions, up to 90% in some cases, to some of the biggest companies. So the companies that had the ability to spend much money on lobbyists, they get an exemption, but all the other small companies don't get an exemption, and the majority of jobs are created by small businesses. So that's going to be a big problem.
We've had two mass murderers sentenced. What's the public reaction been to what these two horrible men got?
I think most people are not too happy with the sentences. In both cases, the judges could have given them concurrent, or not concurrent, consecutive, so they could have stacked each crime on top of the other, which they should have done.
Yeah, and we should make clear that we're talking about Bruce McArthur, the killer of the man in the gay community in Toronto, and Alexander Bissonnette, who gunned down the people in the Quebec mosque. Now, they could have, under new laws, given them consecutive sentences to make sure they never would see the light of day, yet they didn't get it. And I know judges always say we reserve the highest sentences for the worst crimes, but when you kill half a dozen or nearly a dozen people, looking at which case, shouldn't they get the maximum sentence?
Well, for sure. These are two horrible people. Bissonnette walked into a mosque and just a bunch of people peacefully praying, just gunned them down. And then McArthur, I think he was dismembering people. Over a long period of time, just posing bodies and just this horrible stuff. These are two horrific crimes. And yet, if you get 25 years for killing one person, then you kill 6 people, then you should get 25 years stacked on top of each other 6 times. Same with McArthur, right? It's 8 people that he's admitted to killing. There could be more, potentially. So, yeah, the idea that they made it concurrent really is it's like a slap in the face to the victims and families and everything. And again, I don't get why judges keep doing this. It's like they feel some sort of sympathy for people who do horrible things. Those people had a chance to have sympathy when they weren't doing horrible things, and they chose to kill people. So I think the sympathy kind of goes out the window there, and the sympathy should be for family members And if you want to give people, I mean, no one's ever going to get full peace of mind if someone they love dies that way, but they get more peace of mind if they know zero chance that person's ever going to be out of jail. They're not going to be in the news again. They're not going to be at a parole hearing. So when judges do this and let them, maybe 40 years they'll get parole or they can apply for parole, it really does kind of re-victimize people.
Yes, and it's no guarantee when they say, the parole board would never let them out when they become eligible. The parole board has made mistakes in the past before.
Well, for sure, and as people say, I mean, if someone's eligible for parole in 30 years or 40 years, society has changed a lot in that time. The laws could totally change. There could be a court ruling that invalidates a sentence or something. So, again, it's I think they should have gotten hundreds of years and then no chance for parole. I mean, it's pretty simple.
What do you think of the federal Liberal candidate in Burnaby South who thinks that the internet should be under the control of the United Nations?
Yeah, that's pretty disturbing. I don't think most people want that. I mean, the UN often has committees controlled by countries like China and Saudi Arabia who are not too big on internet freedom. So to think the UN would regulate it is pretty disturbing. Again, I think it's a disturbing attitude. People shouldn't want some supranational institution that doesn't have Canada's values governing what we can do and say in Canada.
Do you think the Liberals have a problem with candidates in South Burnaby, one pointing out Jagmeet Singh's race, and now this one here wanting to hand Canada's sovereignty over to the United Nations?
Yeah, they seem to, I think, the first candidate, obviously, big problem. The second candidate, probably just, they're desperate to find somebody, right? So it often kind of lowers the quality. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of Liberal MPs think that, though, especially Trudeau. I think he probably wouldn't have a problem with the UN regulating more things. He seems to be a fan of the UN, unfortunately. So, yeah, I don't think that attitude is probably too limited when it comes to the Liberals.
Spencer, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Good to be here.
My guest has been investigative reporter Spencer Fernando. You can find his articles at spencerfernando.com. If you have any questions for Spencer or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. Find us on Twitter at TalkDigitalNet, our YouTube channel, Talk Digital Network. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of Howe Street Media Incorporated.